it's ASMR Cubed here, and today we'll be looking into the monsters of Resident Evil. We'll start off with the normal zombie, the one that you would find as a common enemy in the first game. A zombie refers to most people that have succumbed to the T-virus, either through contamination of the water supply, or infected bite or scratch from a virus carrier. Researchers at Umbrella Corporation called them zombies in reference to Haitian folklore zombies, which are said to be recently dead bodies reanimated by a necromancer for use as slave labor. Since some of the traits of zombies are decomposed skin and lack of a pulse, they are often mistaken for reanimated corpses. Now the history of the zombie according to the Resident Evil universe. During his trials with the T-virus, Dr. James Marcus began to consider the impact human testing would have on research, eventually forcing people into being guinea pigs for his secret bioweapon experiments. These results were the trials of the very first zombies. It would appear that information regarding Marcus's deeds only surfaced during the 1998 investigation into his laboratory, which had been quickly abandoned 10 years prior to when he was murdered. The investigation revealed no less than 20 people were used as test subjects. Now we will look into the next monster of Resident Evil, this one being Cerberus. The Cerberus development code MA-39 was an early attempt at creating a controllable bioorganic weapon by Umbrella in a project led by the Arklay Laboratory. They should not be confused with zombie dogs, which will encompass all breeds of dogs infected with any T-virus strain in the secondary form, pronounced as the Greek word Cerberus. This creature was named after the mythological guardian of Hades, a gigantic dog with 3 heads and a collar made of venomous snakes. Cerberus project began in the early 1980s to explore the effectiveness of the B strain in creating controllable bioorganic weapons. With their reliability as military animals, the Cerberus project began with Doberman pinschers, and was the case in other POWs. The most successful candidate was subsequently cloned to ensure identical production. The Arklay Lab, which led the Cerberus project, trained the dogs in the courtyard to prove their effectiveness in taking orders. In May 1998, a T-virus outbreak weakened the handler's capacity to control the dogs, and the dogs escaped after not being fed. The pack was responsible for several attacks on hikers and continued to move throughout the Arklay Mountains as late as July, when they began stalking the STARS unit sent in to investigate the animal attacks. Now we will look into the Crimson Head. This zombie is a bit more resilient than the normal zombie that you would come across. They can take more damage and, well, generally they're faster. A lot more aggressive than normal zombies. But here's its history. During Umbrella's human trials with the T-virus as part of their research into the human POW, the project would later be continued as the Tyrant program, by the way. This particular zombie reacted differently. A sudden mutation of the virus took place within its body, and referred to it as the V-Act. Its aggressive behavior, high vitality, and sheer strength interested researchers at the Arklay Laboratory greatly, and samples of its viral mutation were extracted for further research. It would be this strain that infested the complex in 1998. This research later culminated in the virus variant released in Raccoon City and Sheena Island in 1998, where the effects of the V-Act altered to create liquors. It was named the Crimson Head not only because of its appearance, but its high level of aggression and ferociousness. It killed 4 researchers in an attempting to feed it. Since the Crimson Head was too dangerous for further observation, the scientists had no choice but to freeze it and then conceal it inside the estate's backyard cemetery, locked within a sarcophagus, requiring a collection of death masks to unlock. Now we will get into Jan. Jan is a giant snake-like creature infected with the T-virus. It's very dangerous, very agile, and extremely venomous. captured by scientists in the Arclight laboratory. It was eventually infected with the T-virus following the leak in May of 1998, and it promptly made the home mansion its home, preying on any humans that happened to come across it. The Yawn encounter stars Bravo team member Richard Aiken and Rebecca Chambers as they explore the mansion, hunting through individual rooms until it cornered them. After Richard managed to save Rebecca from harm, the Yawn attacked and bit into Richard before escaping back into the mansion's framework. Bleeding and injected with a large dose of venom, Richard and Rebecca hid until they were discovered by STAR's Alpha team member Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. The Yawn was later fought in the attic, but escaped through a fireplace before it could be killed. The Yawn would later attack one of the STAR's Alpha team members in the library, where it was finally killed. Now we will get into the Hunters. Hunters are a group of animal hybrids which were genetically engineered as biological weapons. The Hunter species was created through grafting of reptilian donor DNA to fertilized human embryos, with the aid of the T-virus as a bonding agent, with the expectation of the Hunter Y, which reversed the process, with human grafting into the genome of a fertilized amphibian. The Hunters were one of Umbrella's most successful products, amongst their oldest, having entered the production with the Hunter A-type in the 1980s. Following Umbrella's demise, other bioweapons manufacturers used the research data to create new Hunter species, with the Farfellow amongst the last of its iterations. In Umbrella's early years, the business strategy of its co-founder, Oswald E. Spencer, was the engineering of a viral strain of progenitor collectively dubbed the T-virus. It's used as a profitable weapon, with funds raised going towards the Wesker project until the 1980s. T-virus research was pioneered independently by Umbrella's three founders and their labs. The T-virus was present at the Arclight laboratory in 1978, known as Alpha, had a 90% chance of killing those infected. While this is fit perfectly as a military weapon, the chances of it spreading far were not satisfactory. Consequently, Dr. William Bergen's team spliced alpha genes with the Ebola virus. This new T-virus, known as Beta, was completed in 1981, and instead of keeping the infected alive in such a state, they would unconsciously kill or infect others. The downside was that statistically, 10% of the population would still be immune and could avoid the walking infected. Under pressure from Spencer to find a solution to the problem, Bergen steered the weapons research project towards creating a new species that would kill the survivors. The Hunter Project was born. Alterations in 1998, work was undertaken by other laboratories to improve upon Bergen's creation. After the 1998 Mansion Incident A, embryos were further altered to improve their reaction times for combat. However, the resulting B specimens were weaker and blind in one eye due to an uncontrollable tumorous growth. Umbrella's European facilities went in a new direction, using amphibian humanoid hybrids, but it could only be used near bodies of water. Other developments in this area were the R and Y Elite and the Trix. Umbrella's rival company developed the Hunter II, a more intelligent version of the A model that could track down its targets through an automated surveillance system. This company also created the Sweeper, a poisonous hunter with reddish skin. The Italian bioterrorism group Veltro gained access to a mass-produced third-party hunter model similar to the design of Hunter II, with a variant infected with the T-Abyss virus existing in 2005. It was called the Farfellow, and it was able to turn its body transparent. Now we will go into a character with a more unfortunate fate. We're going into the story of Lisa Trevor. Lisa Trevor was an American woman who was abducted by Umbrella Pharmaceuticals to serve as a test subject in a series of unethical and illegal viral weapons experiments. She was important in the development of the T-virus at the Arklay labs, as well as the first person infected with the Goliath virus. Twisted and deformed by 3 decades of abuse, Lisa became a danger to the staff of the Arklay laboratory. They arranged for her murder when no longer deemed useful, though she was able to cheat death for another 3 years until she was killed in an explosion during the mansion incident. Her biography is pretty long, so this is going to be a long one. Early life and abduction. Lisa was born around 1953 to the famed architect George Trevor, co-owner of Trevor in Chamberlain, his wife Jessica in the 1960s, and her father were commissioned by Oswald E. Spencer to construct the mansion for him in the aforested Arklay County. Spencer built up a relationship with the family, such as commissioning stained glass art for Lisa's windows. When the mansion was completed in November 1967, the family was invited to celebrate. George was busy with work, but rather than reschedule the visit, Jessica drove ahead with Lisa, expecting to meet George in a week. Arriving at the mansion on the 10th, the two were detained by Spencer's security guards and taken into an underground passage to serve as human test subjects for the progenitor research. On the 13th, Jessica was able to smuggle an escape plan back on the family photograph, set to take place the following day when being transported to the laboratory. However, Jessica was killed later that night. Lisa failed to escape on her own, and on November 5th, Spencer had a lab assistant dressed up as Jessica to fool Lisa. This had the opposite effect, affecting her extremely violently when the deception was revealed. Mentally disturbed as a side effect of the drugs or the virus, no one knows. Lisa believed her abductors had stolen Jessica's face and responded by stabbing the woman at dinner and carving her face off. Carving her face off in the hopes of returning it to her mother. Escaping the lab, Lisa found herself at the altar beneath the mansion's entrance hall, where she discovered the tomb engraved with her mother's name. But by the 17th, her written account of the abduction is so erratic and impossible to determine if she was actually able to open the tomb. Following this, she was recaptured and kept in captivity for later experiments. Like I said, it was pretty dark, but unfortunately it is what happened to her. She did eventually evolve in the virus and become virtually unkillable. So it was one of those things, you can't really blame her for being upset, I guess. They did kidnap her and they did kill her mother. George Trevor did return to the house a week later, only to meet the same fate. The poor man died of starvation and basically succumbed to dehydration very early on, about 3 days, and he didn't realize he was walking into his own death. It's very tragic, but it is what it is, I suppose. Now we'll go into the next monster, known as Neptune. Neptune was a mutated great white shark, and frankly terrified the crap out of me the first time I came across it. But here's its creation. The Neptune project began early on in the Arklay Laboratories' research into animal bioweapons, as their test subjects transported several adult great white sharks and infected them with the A strain. The research team was disappointed with the results, with little significant change. Much of the research team moved on onto other projects, and most of the subjects were disposed of. A female was left for continued research when it was discovered that she was pregnant. The staff monitored the 12 pups, but 10 died soon after hatching. The remaining 2 survived and were subjects for further study into the possibility of creating a self-fertilizing BOW as an alternative to cloning. The next monster we will see is Plant 42. Plant 42 was a large plant infused with the T-virus, originally part of an experiment on botanic subjects by umbrella researcher Dr. Henry Starton. The name location of the plant was Plant 42, and it was in the dormitory of the residents there at the Spencer Estate. Plant 42 was created by Henry Stutton, who injected a living plant with point 42 with the virus. Out of curiosity, Plant 42 proved to be completely unique and incomparable to any other good plant-based test subjects. Its roots buried deep through wood and concrete in the residence and began feeding on chemical-rich water from the aqua ring, likely promoting further growth. Expanding its vines across the building, it used cracks in the floor to attack passing staff members and feeding on their blood. By May 21st, Plant 42 had completely taken over a room in the dormitory and was able to manipulate door knobs and move itself in vines. Plant 42 captured and drained several researchers of their blood. When they tried to destroy it, it was discovered that Sutton's team that Plant 42 was sensitive to a chemical known as UMB number 20, otherwise known as jolt. A plan was devised to destroy it, involving feeding it indirectly through the roots. However, this plan could not be accomplished, either due to continued deterioration of the researchers' health from the T-virus infection, or because the escape of the Neptunes in the flooded aqua tank chamber. Plant 42 was finally destroyed on the night of July 24th when stars searched the dormitory building. Now we will go on to the web spinner. The web spinner were a series of spider-based bioorganic weapons developed by Umbrella. They thought they had functioning spinning glands despite their names. They rarely made webs with their silk. The spider web. The spinner was intended to be deployed to war zones and use its venom to injure combatants before eating them. The limited intelligence and less than hoped strength increase made this series non-viable, and it was largely discontinued. Its history, the web spinner, was a series of bioorganic-based weapons developed in the Arklay labs. These BOWs were created through primary infection of spider test subjects with an early strain of the T-virus, and were among the first bioweapons developed in the Arklay labs, and then moved on to viral weaponry to genetically alter animals. While their increase in size was impressive, they were found to be unsuitable as a frontline weapon on the battlefield. Their lack of intelligence made them uncontrollable and therefore a potential danger to their owners. And Umbrella was disappointed in their physical strength and had hoped for a stronger weapon. Their fast mobility and ability to climb walls was applauded, however, and they were instead reevaluated as a secondary wave. Chimera is what we're going to talk about next. The Chimera was a biological weapon produced by the Umbrella Corporation in the Arklay labs somewhere before May 1998. It was a human-fly hybrid named after its monster of Greek mythology. It itself a combination of different animals. Its history. Umbrella began using their newly developed T-virus strains on animals soon after their founding. However, they met with problems such as their practicality, such as a lack of intelligence and insufficient strength in eliminating the web spinners as a reliable weapon. In its own place, the Chimera project was started, which was intended to graft insect DNA into human embryos. Homeless women were abducted by Umbrella agents and forcibly impregnated with a modified embryo. Out of these various insects, human hybrids, they were envisioned as bioweapons. It was a fly-human hybrid that was chosen for continued study. It was subsequently cloned and produced identical biological weapons. Due to their many flaws, further research into more advanced forms was never conducted, and the Chimera's basic form was never refined. The lengths of the hunters or the tyrants. Several chimeras are encountered by the STARS member during the mansion incident. In addition, Albert Wesker, shortly after regaining consciousness after the Tyrant attack killed him, encountered a chimera while escape, only to effortlessly kill it with a single kick due to his newfound superhuman abilities. Still, Umbrella continued at least a limited production of the Chimeras in other facilities for a number of years, as several were discovered during Chris and Jill's raid on their Caucus laboratory, as well as during Wesker's own raid on the facility. And finally, we come to the granddaddy of them all, probably the most dangerous in this lineup. The Tyrant T-002 model. This Tyrant, codenamed T-002, was part of the Arclay Labs' quest to develop the ultimate life form. Its history in the late 1980s, Umbrella's bioweapons project had reached an impasse with their beta strain could create mutants like the Hunters and Cerberus, which could be trained in a manner of dogs. The Arclay Lab team, under Dr. William Birkin, advanced the research towards POWs of human intelligence. The new Epsilon strain was developed to eliminate the amount of intelligence lost during T-virus mutation in humans. With the new strain, the Tyrant project was born and named after the virus. Though the research team had hopes that their Tyrant would far outclass any bioweapon and strain, the strain would only mutate humans if they possessed a certain gene, only present in 1 in 10 million people. Umbrella was lucky enough to find several candidates for the T-virus project under the development code T-002. These men, prisoners, were each infected with the T-virus and subjected to surgeries to help their bodies cope. Only one survived the process. The research on the T-002 continued for the next several years, even after the collapse of the Soviet Union provided Umbrella with Colonel Sergei Vladimir, whose clones were participants in the T-103 project as late as 1998. The Arclay team, now under Dr. John Clemens, had full expectations that the T-002 would be tested against trained soldiers. In mid-1998, a substrain of the virus was leaked regarding, or information on the project was leaked. The entire staff at the Arclay Mountain had been infected or killed by the experiment. POWs escaping during the events of the Mansion incident, Dr. Albert Wesker tried to program it to slay the remaining Raccoon City STARS members. As the Tyrant awoke from its slumber, it proceeded to impale him, first seriously injuring him, but with the help of Brad Vickers and STARS officer Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, they managed to destroy it on the rooftop with a rocket launcher. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. This has been ASMR Cubed. I just wanted to add a personal note here. I want to thank you all for your support. It really helps. And if you have any suggestions in the comments below, please leave them. I will look at them and I will listen. Thank you.